So again, I'm using the Maviucida Le Pen Flex, and I'm going to look at a different aspect of using these tools. Now, I showed you how to work with the tool at its beginning phase, and run through the little basic exercises of keeping the tool on its tip. When I do this exercise, the two things that I look for. I look for verticality of line, accuracy of deposition of pigmentation and thickness of line, and accuracy of line height. So don't just sort of do sloppy writing. Try and get a little bit more control of the tool. So I can see a little bit of variation here, moving upward. And then I started to pay a little bit more attention to touching the top and the bottom line. The other thing I looked at in the previous video was moving from the tool in this position to the tool in this position. It's a little bit more difficult to have the tool here and to produce a vertical line, but you can see a dramatic difference in the angle that comes out of at the top and the bottom of the tool. So it's not just the top, it's also the bottom that you want to be conscious of. And then of course that allows us to look at that there's a lot of variety. I mean, just in those 4 lines, we have a dramatic amount of pressure and release. So let's move on to the next kind of exercise that we find here. I'm just making sure these pens are ready. So obviously, in the previous video, I talked about delicacy of touch and smoothness of movement. One of the problems with rolling the pen around in the fingers, or sort of holding it like this and sort of pulling, is you get really shaky lines. By holding the tool slightly higher up, you have a lot more smoothness of movement. So let's say you're writing and this is a shape a lot of people have trouble with, this smoothness here, but principally, this is the shape that a lot of people struggle with. A really smooth crossbar for the T. A lot of people do this shape, but they're sort of doing this, and the line is really, really shaky. And it's all about using muscular movement and getting that arm to move a little bit more smoothly. So, so let's look at some of the exercises. Already you can see from the previous video, we looked at letters which were upright. In this video, we will change the axis of the letters, as you can see here. And if you look at this, you can see I hesitated a little bit, and so the line's a little bit shaky. So I'm gonna, remember, skip a descender line and an ascender line. So we have a little bit of problem there. So I'm just working out, one of the things I love with the lettering that I do is the smoothness of the line. So this really annoys me. this really annoys me because this is angular, that's angular, that's angular, and that's angular. And I want something that is smoother. So I know this is slow, this is medium, this is medium to fast, and this is fast. And this is on the page, on the page, on the page, plus a little lift, and fast and lifting. So it really helps me to work out what I'm going to do when I start looking at the other letters. So once we move from this, we should also be able to produce this same shape. So these shapes sort of work together. Or if you really, really, really wanted to get it working in the same way, you'd flip the page over and then, produce this shape and then flip it back over and do this, which is exactly what engravers used to do when they were engraving copper plates. So again, descender, ascender, X height. So I don't know if you noticed that I really took my time here. I didn't just sort of make the letter. I really planned to do the upstroke, come around, press, and release. So unfortunately, it can't be that slow. So it's 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 3 and 4. So none of it's fast, except maybe this bit. So we have very slow, slow, very slow, 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 medium, medium, fast. And we have no pressure, medium pressure, medium pressure, and then we have pressure, pressure, pressure plus lifting, plus lifting, plus lifting. So, I'm not guessing. I'm not guessing through the shapes. I'm actually feeling what's happening at the tip. And, I know a lot of people don't really sort of analyze the movements like this. But once you sit down and you take the time to understand what the tool can do, it really, really does help you produce this kind of shape. So we have And so, unlike the previous video, these letters are at an angle. And that also assists us because we've gone from here to there. So it's easier to work at this angle, and that's the principal angle of the stroke, right? So I hope that helps you a little bit with your brush pen. Thank you.